I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, did she just clickbait me? That bitch. But no, I did not. I really wish I had. As you may or may not know, depending on whether you're subscribed to this channel, which you totally should, by the way, I accidentally thrifted this urn. And since then, I've been a little spooked, if you will, because I'm not a believer in ghosts. I'm the type of person that says, I believe it when I see it, but I'd rather not see it, you know? Since then, only one spooky thing has happened to me since it entered my house. There was a light that has been flickering for 15 minutes and then it stopped. So that's why I believe that this urn is not bringing in any bad shit. And I think that might have something to do with my general belief that, you know, if I buy dead people's stuff, they're welcome to enjoy me using their stuff as long as they don't scare me. They're welcome as long as they don't bother me, scare me, show their presence, or anything else. And maybe that has kept me safe. And maybe it's just not a bad spirit. Maybe there is no spirit attached to this urn because, you know, the family decided to scatter the ashes in a very respectful, beautiful way. I don't know, but I don't have a reason to believe that some bad shit is going on with this urn. Having said that, I'd rather not have it in my house because it feels wrong. I don't want to use it as a vase, and I don't want it laying around in my house. Anyway, in my previous urn video, I posed a few questions. And why would you even donate an urn? I mean, isn't that disrespectful? Don't you get an urn like this? I mean, I think it's expensive, just to keep it forever. Why would you empty the urn and donate it to the thrift store? So I did what any reasonable human would do. I Googled it. As you could see, these search results are not necessarily applicable to my situation. The things that I found on the internet were largely applicable to people that, you know, have scattered the ashes of a loved one and now have their urn. I don't want to use it as a keepsake box. I don't want to use it as a vase. I don't want to throw it in the trash. And I also don't want to bury it in the ground because this is like solid brass, and as far as I know, it's not great to put metal into soil. I mean, you know, I care about the environment. I don't want to put this in the ground where it might never, you know, deteriorate. And then they also mentioned that you could donate the urn. That's how I ended up here. But I think that they meant, you know, donate it when it's, you know, usable, when there's still a lid on it. This one doesn't have a lid on it. In all seriousness, a human life has ended, and I want to dispose of this urn and the spirit with respect and dignity. So then again, I did what any reasonable person would do. I called the church. You know, I don't know if the spirit was of faith or if, you know, they were Christian, but I was originally raised as a Catholic, so that felt most, you know, appropriate to me. It's what I know or used to know. So fast forward to me calling 11 churches on a Sunday and none of them picked up. My thinking was like, okay, so when I want to talk to someone in the church, I should probably do it on a Sunday because then there are people in church, you know. So I called on a Sunday and no one picks up. So then I thought, okay, wait a minute, I do need someone to sort of give me their permission to do something with this urn so I can get it out of my house and, you know, the spirit can be at peace and I can be at peace. So I thought to myself, okay, I need to go back to the source. So what I did is I called a crematorium, and I don't know if, you know, what the word for crematorium is in English. I will put it on the screen once I figured it out. You know, I did not do my research that well apparently because, you know, I don't know the word for crematorium. So I called and, you know, I was happy that someone picked up finally. And I explained my situation. I said, okay, so I did something stupid. I didn't know it was an urn, but I thrifted an urn. so I don't have a personal connection to this urn, and I don't want it in my house, and it feels disrespectful to throw it in the trash. Help me. What should I do? So he sort of starts laughing because, you know, it is a sort of funny situation. And he says, well, are there still ashes in that urn? And I'm like, no, of course not. Does it have a name? And I'm like, no, of course not. Because otherwise, you know, I would have made an effort to track down the family members or whatever. And I would have to pose the question how that urn ended up at the thrift store anyway. But that was all not the case. And he was like, well, that's really crazy. Why would you donate an urn? And I'm like, that's my point. That is my point. If someone hadn't donated this urn and had thought about how weird it would be for someone else to, you know, have this urn without sort of knowing that it was an urn, because I know I should have checked it out better, but you know, I'm in the thrift store, there's a time limit. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so I said, okay, we have established that it is weird that I have this urn, and we have established that it is not, you know, full, and I cannot trace the owners of the urn. So what can I do with it? Because I'm not throwing it in the trash, and I also don't want to bury it in the ground. And he said, well, you know, you can return it to our facility, and I don't know what they're gonna do with it, but I'm not going to ask because it's going to be their problem. And speaking spiritually, I think it being in my house is weird, and it might be wrong, but it being in such an appropriate place, I think that would be better, you know. I also considered it putting it on a cemetery where you can have a wall with urns, but then I thought that might be disrespectful because the urn is empty, and then local news will pick it up, you know, and oh my god, it will be a whole thing, because then people might think that someone opened and emptied the urn and left it there. So I didn't want to do that either. So what the plan is for now is on Thursday I have a day off, so I have to check if the crematorium is open then, and then I will bring the urn there. I'm going to sort of clean my house with sage. My sister gave me a sage stick, you know, to, I don't know, clean this house, wish the spirit well, if there's a spirit attached to it, but I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I'm not manifesting any shit. You're not going to find me manifesting shit like this. But anyway, I think if you've learned anything from this weird video, it is to always check beautiful vases like this for something like this on the bottom, for the inside, and then not pick it up. Just don't do it, because it's going to be your problem now. Unless you're some sort of psychopath who, you know, is not at least a tiny bit spooked by having someone else's urn in your house, then you should just not pick it up. Keep your eyes open at the thrift store, you know. Also, I want to give you this message. Don't donate an urn to a thrift store. Just don't do it, because someone else like me is going crazy when they accidentally buy it. So just don't donate it. And if you do want to donate it, you know, as the website that I just showed you said, mention that this urn has been used, mention that it is an urn and that it should be used as such. You know, I can understand that urns are expensive, and this one is beautiful. I mean, I don't want to be cremated, I don't want to be buried, but what choice do I have? I much rather be buried than burned. But if I was, I would love an urn like this, even though it has a dent. But, you know, I would love it. And I would love the idea that someone else has already been in it and it's not wasteful. So, you know, I respect people that donate urns when they say it is an urn and when it's going to someone that needs an urn. So, that was the story time. I'm happy I was able to get a hold of the crematorium. I must mention that one pastor called me back and I explained the situation and that I had already made arrangements to deliver this urn at the crematorium. And he said that it was also very weird that someone donated. He thought it was funny, and he said that if an urn is empty like this one and it doesn't have a name tag or anything, that you can view it as a item to be used however you please, because it doesn't have any sort of symbolic or emotional or spiritual meaning anymore. So that also made me feel better. I mean, how did I get myself into this mess? And I'm still like a little bit afraid that I'm going to go to the crematorium and that they're gonna say, well, why do you bring this here? And that I will be stuck with the urn and I have to film a part 3, the return of the urn part 2. But, you know, I'm thinking positively. I think that I will be able to return this urn to the crematorium. And I don't know if they're just going to melt this, because, you know, it's solid brass. So I don't know if that is even worth something, but whatever. This was my rant. You probably didn't come to this channel to see this. I usually make content about thrifting, secondhand finds, secondhand urns. Oh my god. And it was also so cheap. And now I realize why it was so cheap. And like, on the one hand, I think that I'm just stupid and that therefore I only noticed that this was an urn as I got home. But on the other hand, usually they don't price their brass things that cheaply. I bought many brass candlestick holders or other brass figurines, whatever, and they're never this cheap. Almost never this cheap. So now I think that they knew that it was an urn and they had to do something with it, so they priced it very cheaply, and I'm the idiot that bought it. It was, let me check, $150. And I'm leaving the price tag on because if someone doesn't believe me, this sort of proves it, you know. Anyway, thank you for watching my rant. I hope you'll subscribe. Maybe a part 3 will be here when, well, not a part 3, a part 2, the return of the urn part 2. I mean, it just sounds so catchy. I probably have to put this in the title. I'll see. Whatever. Maybe I'll post a part 2. I hope not. But let me tell you, I'm going to find a way to get rid of this urn that is respectful and good for the environment. So subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you in one of my regular videos.